Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Get Good at Business Spotlight. I am your host, Taylor Proctor, and I am your business coach here to help you get good at business so that you can get back into the heart of why you got into business in the first place. And of course, we do that utilizing the I Move method, which stands for intuition, marketing, operations, velocity, and execution. And today I'm so excited to dive into the I Move method with our incredible guest, Carolyn Boras. She has been an educator for more than 40 plus years and have experienced many feelings that teachers are currently experiencing. That includes stress, anxiety, overwhelm, and work-life imbalance. Nearly 20 years ago, she left everything she knew and moved halfway around the world to start an international teaching gig. This saved her physical, mental, and emotional health and is what has kept her still teaching full-time at the age of 69. And she does not look 69, folks. However, this option, of course, is not practical for everyone. There is a crisis in education. Teachers are in crisis. And so Carolyn helps educators who are experiencing burnout overcome their feelings of guilt, anxiety, and fear to reclaim their confidence, self-esteem, and of course, their sense of purpose. She uses the tools of rapid transformation therapy to bring relief from burnout to those on the education front line. So let's give it up for our guest today, Carolyn Boras. Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to dive in and talk all about what you do to help educators in your business.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. I'm very happy to be speaking to you today.
I love it. And you are speaking to us from, because you mentioned in your bio, you moved halfway across the world. Where were you before and where are you at now?
Okay. Well, I'm currently in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. I've been an international educator for 20 years now. And how I got here is this. About 20 years ago, as I was approaching my 50th birthday, I was living in a part of Canada that was extremely expensive. I couldn't save any money. I couldn't afford to do anything. I was still driving a 15-year-old car with 250,000 kilometers on it. And I thought, oh, I can't afford a new car. What am I going to do if it breaks down? So there was all of that going on. But what was also happening was that it didn't really matter what school I went to. Every single time I walked into the staff room, the talk always revolved around how many years, months, weeks, and days people had until retirement. That's all they talked about. And as I was approaching 50 and thinking, well, maybe I would retire when I was 65, I thought, how on earth can I stand another 15 more years of listening to this misery?
And how can you afford it?
Well, that's exactly right. And so as I was contemplating that, I happened upon the world of international education. I had no idea up until that point that it even existed. And so I decided I needed to make a decision. I needed to do something. And so I packed my bags, left everything I knew, and I moved halfway around the world. And my first gig was in Singapore. I was there for 12 years. Then I went to the Middle East. I was there for 3 years. And now this is my 5th year in Vietnam. And honestly, teaching internationally is a whole different ballgame than teaching back home. There are pros and cons to it, obviously. And I know that doing what I did is not doable for everybody. Not everybody can pick up and leave. But that was an option that was available to me. And I have to say that doing that really, as you mentioned, it saved my physical, mental, and emotional health. That's why I can still be teaching full-time at the age of 69, because it is so different than teaching back home. So that's how I ended up here as a teacher. But when I first went overseas, I thought, well, this is a whole new adventure. And there I was in my 50s. So I decided my 50s were going to be my decade of adventure. I had fantastic travel adventures that I would never have been able to have if I'd stayed at home. And so as I was approaching my 60s, I thought, well, like now what? Because that's kind of a big number. So I decided that my 60s were going to be my decade of even more adventures.
Mhm.
Okay, so now as I'm approaching my 70s, which is like a huge number, I decided that my 70s are going to be my decade of my second brilliant career, and my 80s are going to be my Yoda years, where hopefully I can, impart some of my accumulated wisdom. And my 90s, well, I haven't decided about that yet. But in the meantime, about 5 years or so ago, I had a health scare. And fortunately, I was someone who was given a second chance. And I know that not everyone is given a second chance. And as I was contemplating, well, why did I get a second chance? There's got to be a reason for this. And if I was given this gift, then what am I supposed to do with it? It was during this period of time that I discovered RTT therapy. And so as I explored that, because I'd always had an interest in hypnotherapy, the workings of the mind and the brain. So I got the training in it, and then I decided, the thing that I know about is teaching. I know about teachers, I know about education, I know about teaching. And given the crisis that teachers are experiencing right now, I decided that this is the way that I give back. This is what this second chance is going to be. It's going to be to help people in my profession because they need help. When I am reading what teachers are writing in the Facebook groups, not only is it shocking, it's heartbreaking what people are experiencing. They need help, and I can offer help. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
I love that. And it's so fascinating too, because I think we often look at what we do and we see that there's an impact, right? You're helping teachers, but by helping teachers, you actually, across the world, you are helping children across the world, which you're helping
Yes,
communities across the world, which is helping society across the world. Like your single drop is literally causing massive ripples across the globe, not only in so many different ways, which is so
sure,
incredible and such an
sure.
amazing, such an
And
amazing
so,
legacy.
sure. And so when you think about teachers who are so broken and yet they're still in the classroom, exactly how much learning is happening then? If teachers are in the middle of the day, they're running out of the room crying because of whatever has happened, what is happening in the classroom? And if some teachers are at a point where, they've driven to school, but they cannot get out of their car, well, then what?
Right.
People are literally hanging on by a thread. And I am reading in some of these Facebook threads that some teachers were talking about they found their tree. And when I asked what does this mean? Some teachers are at a point where they found a tree that they're going to drive into to incapacitate themselves, not that much, but just enough to get off work. I I couldn't believe what I was reading. And this was I don't know, in one of the Facebook groups from the US. One person responded from the UK, and she said, well, in the UK we don't talk about finding a tree, we talk about finding a wall or finding a bridge. What is happening?
Yeah.
Uh,
And
I
that's a
I
whole culture that's happening on the backside too.
That's exactly right. And the thing is, there is since COVID, I think things have become progressively worse.
Right.
And there is a book that's been recently published called Pencils Down, and it was written. One of the authors is Michael Byer, and he makes the point that, once when COVID started, teachers were considered heroes, but as COVID dragged on, teachers ended up becoming the scapegoats. And, that plays on you as well. What the media says has a huge impact on what ends up happening in school districts and in schools and in the classrooms. And, what teachers are experiencing, I have to say, even talking to my friends back home who are still in teaching, it's not getting any better.
Yeah.
But it needs to get better. It needs to get better. And so my message that I would like to get across is that help is available. Like you don't need to do this by yourself. And like 30 years ago, when I was experiencing stress and I was in what I thought was an untenable situation, I didn't know where there was help. I didn't know if there was help available. I maybe there was, but I didn't know where to go. And so I did that by myself, but it was not easy. It was not easy. So help is available.
I love that too, because it's not only is help available, but there are options that our teachers may not
Yes.
be aware of that
Yes.
that doesn't mean a complete lifestyle change. Like
No.
I'm all about, right, get good at business and get back into the heart of why you got into business in the first place.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
love that because I think it aligns really well with what you're doing, which is helping teachers so they can get back into the heart of why they got back into teaching
Sure.
without the stress, the overwhelm, the anxiety, and
Sure.
giving them options to be able to come back into that.
Sure. And the thing is, carrying on with your point, for some people, they might just need to change grade level. Maybe
Oh,
that's all that's needed. Some people might need to change schools. Some people might need to change school district. Some people might need to change cities
mhm.
or states or provinces if they're able to, or countries if they're able. So it doesn't necessarily require a massive shift, but if certain things can be, what's the word I'm looking for? If certain things can be shifted, if perceptions can be changed, if people have tools that they didn't realize that were there, then it doesn't necessarily mean a change in your whole entire world.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, some people cannot move because they are a single, they're the only ones earning an income in their family. They could be a single parent. They might have to stay because of aging parents. They might have to stay because they're too far into the career and they can't give up pension. So there are so many factors involved, so many things to consider. It's not necessarily you have to make a huge jump to something else. Now, some people might want to change career and get out of the profession completely. And then if that's the case, I know a lot of teachers are suffering from imposter syndrome. Well, I
Mm.
have teacher skills, but they don't transfer over to corporate, for example, if they want corporate, or who's going to hire me because I've only just been a teacher. So there's all of that. So they stay stuck and they procrastinate and they can't set goals and they don't have any motivation because they think that's all they are as a teacher. Now, that's a that's a whole big thing of changing mindset and changing perception,
Which you also help
and
with.
that's it. That's exactly right. And boosting people's self-esteem and their confidence. So there are so many, I think of the teacher issue, for lack of a better phrase, as there are so many things involved in it. It's like a spider web and all those connecting threads in the spider web. There are so many things involved in this that if you can resolve one issue, you might find that it collapses several other issues.
Right.
Or maybe not. I mean, it depends on the person, right? So it's not necessarily you throw everything out and start from zero. That's not always necessary, unless, of course, you want it to be. And in my case, I wanted it to be, so that's what I did.
Right. I love that because I actually I call that the eat, pray, love model.
Okay, that
Right?
sounds interesting.
Because the book and the movie, the film Eat, Pray, Love, she feels this pull to do something else and she like just trashes her whole life and goes out and does all these other things and then has to come back and kind of figure out where she is. And it's like you don't always have to be the eat, pray, love model. There
No,
are options for change in your current space that you can do. And I love
sure,
it. So
sure.
let's move to intuition. Let's kick off our I move questions. And one of the
Okay,
things I love that you mentioned is that you got the call, we'll say 5 years ago. So pre-COVID, you got the call to start building your business to help and support teachers. And the need for that business, and specifically that niche, is even more pronounced now than it was then. And I
sure.
like to look at those types of situations and go, I wonder if that was your intuition, right? Guiding in that space. And so, as we
Right.
talk about intuition within iMove, I would love to know how you utilize or how you've utilized intuition to really guide the vision of your programs.
Well, when I did the RTT training, as I said, I wasn't sure where I was going to go with it. One thing I did know was that I was not interested in retire, because to me that word, I don't know, it's only one step from the grave as far as I'm concerned. And I am not ready for that. So, but I didn't know what, once I decided to get out of teaching, because I knew at some point I would decide that I didn't want to be in the classroom anymore, I didn't know what the next step was. It's just I wasn't going to retire. So in the meantime, I had taken this training and I thought, okay, I have this training. So now what? Now what? And so it came to me as all of this stuff about teaching and education was coming up. It came to me that, well, this is how I can best help. This is what I think my next step is going to be. I'm not going to retire, I'm going to re-inspire. That's what I'm going to do. And so in the RTT process, we have a protocol that we follow, right? And so I like to call it the freedom program, because once you get at the core of, or get the root cause of what is holding you back, what your limiting beliefs are, once you resolve those issues or that particular issue, then you have freedom to live your life the way you envision it. So once I looked at, oh, how can this help? I got excited. I thought, this is what I need to do. This is where I want to go. This is how I can help. Because as we said before, it's not necessary to change your whole life unless you want to do that. So that is what is guiding me. And then of course, in the actual RTT session, you're using your intuition all of the time. You're using your intuition. You're also using your knowledge and your training to find out, okay, you have to listen to what the client is saying. And you also have to listen to what the client is not saying, because that's also important.
Okay. Yep.
And then your intuition guides you as to, okay, instead of using this particular tool, I need to use this tool. And then I need to go here. So as I say, there's a protocol that you follow, but within that, you're always using your intuition so that you can guide the client as to where they want to go, where they need to go.
I love that. Now, of course, you are working with teachers and in that specific niche. So, what are the practical marketing strategies that you have found effective in reaching that audience, especially
Okay,
on a
well,
global level?
well, because I've been in education for more than 45 years now, I can talk teacher talk. I know exactly what they're talking about, because I get the
Been there.
lingo. I've been there. I know what they're feeling. I know what they're thinking. I know what their pain points are. So in terms of the marketing, my marketing aligns with what is going on with them. And also because I'm still in the classroom, I see firsthand what is happening to my colleagues and what my colleagues are experiencing. So that's how my marketing aligns with my niche.
Mhm. I love that. And so it's really connecting in, talking about the pain points, talking about the aspirations, and
Yes.
using that attraction marketing to have the audience come and find you.
Yeah, exactly. And, in terms of the pain points, one of the really important parts is, okay, so if you are experiencing this and this and this and this and this, what is the cost of not getting help? What is the cost to you, to your family, to your friends, to your colleagues? But first and foremost, what is the cost of you not getting help? What is the cost to your physical, mental, and emotional health? If you think you can't afford to get help, whatever help you decide to check into, well, can you afford to have all of these physical ailments, perhaps a health scare, a relationship breakdown, financial breakdown,
Partnership. Yeah.
exact hardship? Can you afford that? What is the cost of not getting help? That's the thing.
Yeah. I love that. So, of course, you are teaching, and then you are helping teachers who are your students essentially all
Yes.
over the world. What are some of the key, like, operational practices that you've put in place to be able to balance all of this and really help scale your company?
I have hired a team who does the technology because yeah, okay, I'll admit it. My technology is paper and pencil. That's what I grew up with. So I've hired a team to do the technology and to do the social media. I also have a business coach who obviously is helping in that regard. And so we are getting ready to launch the program in its fullness. We have the obviously the RTT, the therapy session, the protocol, and we're developing resources that will go along with the program so that I guess we're talking about velocity of the business as well.
Uh-huh.
But teachers will be able to dip in and out of the program to try it on, to see what they would like to see if they want to carry on further, right? So yeah, so basically, I don't know how many questions I just answered.
You're really good. I love it. So you've got some great key team members in place to support your
Yeah,
operations. And then
yeah.
as far as like strategies to really add velocity to your business, it's
Mhm.
kind of a combo, right? You're working with a business coach, you're really
Yes,
honing in on your marketing, you're offering resources for these teachers so they can test the waters. I think that's incredible.
yes, yes.
So,
And sorry, and I think that, once everything is in place, I think that any issue that a teacher has can be handled.
mm,
Which I find exciting, because, as I say, quite often, a client will come with a whole shopping list of things they want to get settled. Now, you can only handle one thing at a time in a session. So the question is, what is the priority right now? And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes if you resolve one issue, you collapse several others. So, as I say, I think that any issue that a teacher any issue that a teacher has will be handled with the program, with the Freedom Program, and with the resources that we're offering.
I love that too, because that segues perfectly into my final question for you, which is all about execution, right? You can only prioritize and focus on one thing and get it done at a time. So, what
Exactly.
is the big thing that you are focusing on for your business right now?
The big thing is to get the entire program launched, to get all of the resources in place, so that as people can have several things that they can dip in and out of to try on for size to see if they want to carry on. Ultimately, the program can lead to one-to-one support from me in their healing. And the purpose of the program is to provide support and healing for those who need it the most at a price that's affordable.
Yeah,
That's
love that.
that's really important. I think. So, if people want to contact me to get more information, or if they want to have a quick call to see if this is something they want, they can always email me or go to my website. Is this a time when we can talk about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say you've mentioned some free resources, and for
Yes,
anyone who is watching, right? If whether you're a teacher or not, I think we all at least know someone who's in the education field who is struggling right now. And so
sure.
you have a couple of free resources that our listeners can send on or
Yes,
utilize themselves. So why don't you share a little
yes.
bit about that with us?
Okay. Just before I do that, I want to carry on, add on to what you just said. Um, even though my focus is on teachers, teachers have not cornered the stress and burnout. I mean, they haven't. We've all experienced stress at various levels at various times in our life, whether you're a taxi driver or an accountant or a paralegal. And so, anybody who is not a teacher can also contact me if they have issues with self-esteem or motivation, and let's talk about public speaking. So many people have a fear about that. Motivation, procrastination. So as I say, if you're not a teacher, don't be afraid to contact me or to look on my website. So on my website, I have a couple of free audios that people can sample. And my website is carolynborashypnotherapy.com. And if people want to email me, it's carolyn@carolynborashypnotherapy.com. And so, we spoke earlier about, we've been talking about intuition. And when someone first contacts me, intuition plays a big part in this part of the process, because the first call is just a short 20-minute discovery call where both the potential client and I decide whether we are a good fit for each other. So that's based on intuition, but also, my knowledge and my experience. If we're not a good fit, then I can recommend other colleagues. Also, in that discovery call, if that potential client wants an issue resolved that is out of my area of expertise, then I use my intuition and my knowledge and my training to say, I can recommend another colleague to you. So, the discovery call is very important, and intuition is very important in this whole process, I have to say, right?
I love that. And
So,
that's why it's the first part of the I move, is because it's a crucial part that's often overlooked when it comes to business, but it
yes.
really plays a role in every component of business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to listen to that little voice that's inside. And what do they call your gut? It's your second brain, right?
Mhm.
And so that knot that you feeling in your stomach, we need to pay attention to that because something is not right. And so if you want to call that intuition, then call it intuition. But, we've all experienced the knot in the pit of our stomach when we're contemplating a decision. So very important. Intuition, always important.
I love that. Wonderful, wonderful. So the link to learn more about Carolyn is in the description of this episode. And again, you can check out some of her free resources, specifically some of her free audios at carolynborashypnotherapy.com. Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us today. And for those of you that are watching, remember to stay tuned. We will have more Get Good at Business highlights and spotlights coming soon in the future. But in the meantime, if you are curious about the I Move method and how you can use it in your business, I want to invite you to check out the Get Good at Business Mastermind. Mastermind includes networking with other wonderful business owners like yourselves and masterminding based on what's happening that's good and where you might need some support. It also includes more support through co-working sessions, 24/7 support from our team if you have questions in the meantime, as well as live hot seat Q&A sessions every other week, and every other week I Move training sessions as well, all dedicated to helping you get good at business. So if you're intrigued by the I Move method, I want to invite you to check out the mastermind. For our listeners, it's $27 for the first month, and then month to month after that, $97. So you can really see what it's like. And as Carolyn mentioned, we also believe that getting good at business should be accessible and affordable. So be sure to go check that out. That link will be in the comments and show notes as well. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Carolyn. This was so enlightening. I'm so excited about what you have going on for your business. And stay
Thank you.
tuned. We'll have more business highlights coming soon.